You like that?
I like it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Scott gave us that song, so that was pretty cool. Anthony's putting together the video. He said my version sucked. So
well, it did.
So it did.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
I didn't have much to choose from, so and I'm trying to raise some kids and sort of work. Oh, the other day Livy told me that I don't really work.
Oh.
Yeah. I forget what it was.
Like stick it in and twist.
Yeah, it was. And I was like, oh, really? And I wasn't mean about it. Right? I was like, really? I was like, you. I was like, is that because you've heard me say that? Because a lot of times I'll say like, oh, it's not real work, and I've explained too where I'm not making money from this.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm lucky, I'm breaking even. Yeah. So she knows that, but yeah, so she doesn't think writing is work, and then she sees this because I say that this is my work, and it's like, this doesn't work.
She's like, I see Coach at the house all the time.
Yeah. Like, you're having fun. You're doing yoga. You're doing jiu-jitsu. You're doing this. You're talking. It's like, it's not real work. The writing and creating a story. She sees how much fun I have doing that, and she how much she enjoyed it. It's like, that's not real work. I was like, that's cool. I was like, now just you could do that the rest of your life too. I was like, you just need to find out what you enjoy doing.
That's what I was gonna.
Yeah. So that was a cool. That was
kind of have
yeah.
It. Yeah.
So instead of me being all butthurt about her saying I don't work, and then.
No, it's a great way. It's like, yeah, sweetheart, I'm lucky. I'm lucky I like what I do.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, I love what I do. Last month we did something pretty cool. I wasn't sure about it ahead of time because ideally I wanted to go to San Diego, catch up with guys that I interviewed from like 3 years ago, guys that were just writing about in Unlocking the Cage. But I wanted like 5 days. I wanted to go to the different gyms. I wanted to go to Alliance. I wanted to go to the arena, 10th Planet. But we realized the only way I was going to be able to do it because of the kids and everything else was pretty much had 1 day to go do it. Right? I was like, okay, but we're going to make the most of it. So we went to my brother's. My brother Steve, my younger brother, who's a chiropractor. I knew that him and his wife could really benefit from some yoga. And so you guys went outside. I got to hang out with my little nephew Tyler. We worked on his new book. I can't take much credit for it, but it was cool. I was just running through ideas and scenarios with him, and he was telling me about these characters he has. I forget the name. I think it's Zarg, and something about the adventures of Tyler and something or other. But it was cool being able to just kind of help him with that and ask him about these characters. Like, oh well, who's this guy, and how does he feel when like he's in this kind of situation? And he was coming up with answers, and
it was cool watching you guys go back and forth a little bit. He's just like, no, I don't like that, Uncle. I don't want. Let's do this. Yeah, like, are you sure? Yeah. No, but he's pretty set on what he wanted, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was cool to watch.
Yeah, lots of my ideas sucked. I was like, you're right. But then, what do you think? I didn't get a chance to talk to my brother too much about his session, but how did you feel? They liked it.
I mean, like most parents, I think what they really enjoyed was just kind of having their time away from the kid and not having to worry about who's taking care of the kid. So that was good for them. They just got to hang out. They got to sit back and breathe. And Steve's wife, Erin, has actually already done yoga a couple times before. So she already kind of knew the groove of it, got into it pretty quick. And I mean, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but I thought Steve enjoyed it. I think it was a good chance for him to kind of relax. He spends so much time helping other people kind of relax and or at least getting them there, and probably doesn't spend enough time on himself kind of doing that. So I think being able to not worry about, who Tyler was spending time with or worrying about the kids in general, they were able to just relax. And then we had a pretty good session. I thought it was only about 20 minutes, but it was about what?
I think it was probably close to an hour.
And that happens a lot sometimes when we're just going. So no, it was cool. We were in their backyard, nice and peaceful, great view. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I hope they enjoyed it. But yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think they did. Yeah, and the reason I wanted you to, I wanted that for them, but for you, I wanted you to meet Steve and get adjusted by him. Because I think I told you early on I wanted to do an episode on chiropractic. And I'm not sure how much you cared about it because I don't know how much of a believer you are or what your experiences were. But I was like, I'm a pretty big believer. It's been a big part of my life for a long time. What were your thoughts before seeing my brother? before that trip, like what were your honest thoughts on chiropractic?
Yeah, so before your brother, going back to my service days when I was injured, that was my only kind of experience with any kind of chiropractic at all. I had been injured, hurt my back. They had been sending me once a week to see this chiropractor. It was in and out kind of a process. I'd come in, he'd do some crazy cracks that kind of felt good sometimes they hurt, and then I was out the door. You know, I looked down the line, there's 13 Marines ready to go. So it helped because I had I had 2 herniated discs, so it helped at times, but it wasn't a cure-all. So my thoughts on it were kind of, it could work, but do I want to pay money for something that might work, might not work, sometimes hurts, sometimes doesn't. I was mixed on it. And then I started doing yoga and then figuring out that I can kind of help myself. And a lot of yoga teachers will tell you that, you know, chiropractic is bad or not good or forceful or
Is it because of trauma to the body? Or are they
sure,
saying
of course. I mean, especially yogis believe that you can heal yourself through yoga, and it's very true. But I ended up believing that sometimes you gotta go just manually get adjusted. There's a lot you can do with yoga, but there's only so much yoga can actually do. Sometimes you might physically need it if you had an accident, if you actually do have herniated discs or, you know, separated shoulder. So, but going back to Steve seeing your brother, going down there was a different experience. It was a guy who actually cared about it, you know, wanted me to get better and walked me through a lot of issues that I thought I had under control, but were evident just in my body and my posture. And so all in all, I think that now my views have changed, that chiropractic is something that we should implement as far as yoga and ice baths and basic stretching and working out. I think it's a whole kind of thing, not just this is what is going to cure everything, you know.
My understanding of chiropractic has changed a lot. I mean, I think it was 15 or 16 when I really hurt my back. I still remember the play. I went too low. I jacked on my back. I was I was like defensive line, goal line, got smacked, and I felt something, and I couldn't move, and I was really scared, and I was just in so much pain. I remember my mom, like, they had to put me into the backseat of my mom's car to take me to this chiropractor that my uncle referred us to. And dude, at that time, chiropractors were quacks. I had to go to him for a while, and I was back playing again, like within a week or two. And from there, I had so many injuries. Like I've adjusted. Dr. Holland has probably adjusted nearly every part of my body, like fingers, hands, elbow. That's a painful one. My shoulder all the time, clavicle, everything with the neck, low back, knees, feet. I mean, everything from, and because when I was trying to fight too, I was having injuries. So it's been big, man, in car accidents and everything. I think, and I always believed that it improved. You know, it helped me get over those injuries. It cut down on my pain. It was, and that's kind of how I was viewing it. And I think I would go every so often, but it was mainly like if I got hurt, then I was going to go see him right away. So that's where I was going for pain management. So I'm a huge believer in chiropractic. I wasn't sure, only because it was my brother. I recommended you go see him because of your situation with herniated discs. Dude, I recommend chiropractic to everyone, especially kids. But when you have something special like that, I was like, I don't know, what can they do for you? But I know my brother is going to help you because of his whole understanding of what chiropractic is, which is pretty cool. So I was excited about going down there. We went to his office, and I think he does a really good job he does a better job of explaining it than I will. So here he is talking a little bit about what he's doing at his place.
I practice chiropractic, and people don't understand what chiropractic is, which is why they don't realize it can have such a profound impact on children's health with different various issues, from seizures to autism to all these different things. Most people at best think chiropractic is a treatment for back pain or neck pain, when in fact it's real simple. You know, I made this poster here because these are the 5 things that I think people absolutely need to understand about, number 1, their health, and then 2, how chiropractic becomes an essential piece of living a healthy life. So number one, your spinal cord is located in your spine and is your nervous system's information highway. So that's where all the information that travels to and from your brain has to travel through this conduit right here, this spinal cord, which is housed inside bone. I always ask people, why is the brain and the spinal cord encased in bone? And they know the answer. It's for protection. And this is the most important organ in the human system, yet we don't ever think about it until something goes wrong. And even then, we're typically just trying to suppress those symptoms and not actually get to the cause of a potential problem. Number two, the nervous system controls and coordinates every part of the body. So all those messages coming down the spine to the stomach, to the liver, the heart, the lungs, those connections are always there, and they need to be at 100% to have 100% health and life expression. Number three, misalignments of the spine can distort those messages, and by consequence will necessarily impact health and can contribute to a wide range of health problems. Those misalignments are known as subluxations, which will then negatively impact the nervous system function and affect health and well-being. So with this information, then number five makes sense. If you take care of the health of your spine and nervous system throughout a lifetime, then that's going to dramatically impact your quality of life. And it's as simple as that. The thing that the biggest mistake people make is thinking chiropractic is about pain, when it's about function, it's about quality of nerve system transmission. And when people have a clear nervous system, their body functions better. The thing is, you can't avoid stress. Yeah. We can manage stress. We can develop tools and techniques to release stress. The yoga session we had with Anthony was phenomenal. That just reset and released so much tension, stress, brought me back to center. That's what an adjustment does. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, it's like a reset button. We reset that tension that's been developing. The natural consequence of life is one of eventually degenerating, right? Mm-hmm. These tissues are designed to break down due to stress. Mm-hmm. And the more we can decrease our stress and reset that tension in the human spine and frame and nervous system, we can extend the quality and function of our life.
And I'm always amazed at just how simple it can be. Well, not to say that what you're doing is simple at all, but how gentle or easy it is. And then also, man, like I think I have a video of Jake. Every day we go, like he'll tell me when he wants to go see Dr. Holland, and then he's first on the table, like 100%. Like if we all say we want to go first, no, me first, and he's up there, and he'll tell me when like his back hurts and stuff, but he loves it, and it's something that they know it's good for.
Yeah, kids innately know, and it's like that's what's so amazing too, is that the kids they'll lay down, you have that aha moment for them too. You see their eyes, and it's like whoa. So most people are walking around with an altered sense of normal. Mm-hmm. Their normal is they have a normal based upon a certain level of tension and stress and dysfunction, and they believe that is what they could be. That's their best. Their best day is kind of if their nervous system is not working properly, it's like a dimmer switch. Mm-hmm. It's like what could that potential be? And that's why I named the office Health and Human Potential, because we're dealing with health, but we're also talking about the potential of that individual, operating and expressing life through at the fullest through a properly functioning nervous system. The first thing is, birth alone is one of the most stressful events. There's up to 60 pounds of traction on a baby's neck and spine when they're being born, and that's just without any complications. And you throw in things like cesarean section, where the baby is being pulled and twisted and pulled out quite violently. If you watch some of these videos, birth videos, you'd be amazed at how much force is being used to pull a baby whose neck has very little muscular control. The ligaments are just so delicate. So that's number one. Subluxation trauma, birth trauma happens commonly, and it typically is not diagnosed because nobody's checking.
Yeah, they just think that's how the baby is.
Well, it manifests in a lot of ways. We see kids with extreme colic, babies that are crying, unable to turn their head all the way, they're only they're favoring one breast when breastfeeding. These are all signs that they have a subluxation issue with their spine and nervous system. And we don't grow out of things in life. You know, everyone says, oh, they'll grow out of it. We grow into things. We grow into these stress patterns. We grow, you know, when the neck is subluxated, when it's misaligned, we don't walk around like this. Our body goes like this to bring the eyes level with the horizon. All these things continue to create stress patterns and degeneration.
And that's what you end up seeing walking on the street, these 60, 70, however year old people that are just walking all jacked up and they're whatever. It's like, you put me, whether it was from birth or a car accident or something, it's like there was a point in your life where you stopped doing something, and your body's,
Well, you know, if you look at animals, babies, first thing they do in the morning, they do what?
Stretch.
They stretch, right? So what do? You know, we go, we get out of bed, we go get our coffee, check our phone, and that's another thing.
Yeah,
With kids today, you know, we're spending so much time like this. This is actually, you know, becoming a huge problem. But we don't stretch. You know, that's why yoga is so huge. And the people that do regular yoga have the best spines, best nervous systems that I see in my practice. You know, hands down. So these principles that we're talking about here have been known for the ages. However, we've become so sedentary. In fact, then we put our kids into seats all day for 8 hours a day. You know, instead of what they should be doing, they should be out there moving their bodies, using their bodies. We're creating a situation where we're creating advanced stress and degeneration on our spines. And up until this point, we've completely neglected our spine and nervous system health. We check every other system. You know, people understand they need to go to the dentist. They didn't always understand that. That's where chiropractic should be viewed. It's something you do if you want to have the best quality of life. You have your spine and nervous system checked on a periodic basis throughout a lifetime. And if that were employed on a global scale, it would dramatically impact the health, vitality, and the economics of this world. Because chiropractic is one of the most cost-effective solutions to optimal well-being. Because autism and these other neurodevelopmental conditions are disorders of the nervous system, you know, they involve other systems too, like the gut and the immune system. However, you know, the nervous system, because it is the master system of the body, when we find stress on that system, especially at a spinal level, if we find subluxations causing neurological interference and stress, and we correct those, then we see profound changes. So some of the things we see is improved speech. Kids that were told they were nonverbal autistic, now we have a child who's just recently started speaking. In fact, right after her first adjustment, she said the word happy. I mean, you talk about something, as she was so subluxated, her neck was so misaligned. And the thing is, she's gone 4 years of her life. The brain development is dependent upon proper spinal motion. The cerebellum is driven by spinal movement. The brain develops based upon sensory input. When the spine is off, it distorts that sensory input. It changes the way the brain develops. So now the brain is supposed to develop, you know, on this path. That child now is going off on this path due to things like neuroplasticity. That you have the body starting to go into certain patterns. So what we do is we provide a pattern interrupt. We stop that. We break that cycle, and we allow for, through the time, momentum, and repetition, to retrain, or not even retrain, but to allow the body to get back onto what it already knows, what it should be, by simply restoring proper communication and understanding of what's happening in that child's external environment based upon that, and then also internal environment, what's going on internally. Coordination, emotion, you know, showing more emotional connection with siblings, brothers, social interaction. I mean, you name it, because we're improving the nervous system health.
And how about with the ones that were having seizures?
So that's another area where I've chosen to focus because you can have a huge impact on individuals' lives. You know, so many people suffering from seizures. One child just was in the other day. He comes in now for wellness care, for routine checkups, and when I met that family, he was having up to 60 seizures a day. He was having drop seizures where he would just be doing his thing, and all of a sudden just drop and hit the ground. He'd lost a tooth in the first few weeks when I first met him. He had lost a tooth. He had been to the emergency room twice due to hitting the corner of a table. So I did a talk at an epilepsy foundation here in San Diego, and that family decided to come in and have their child checked. He had severe upper neck subluxation, which is the primary area that is impacted in most of us, but in particular for him. And we started adjusting him, and within 2 months, his seizures had gone down significantly. And then by a 3-month point, his seizures were gone. He wasn't having any more seizures. And now he's 2 years seizure free. MRIs, EEGs look fine. He was told before, they were told that his EEGs would never look normal, and that this would be a problem that he would always have. And so, I mean, just think about that information for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, how huge is that? And the hardest thing being a chiropractor is knowing that information and knowing that the world could be and is not yet having access to that.
We just listened to Steve talk about what he's doing for these kids, and it's amazing. Like I see posts all the time where these parents are saying these incredible things where their kid's life has been completely changed because of these. See my brother, and it's amazing, and it's also frustrating to see. Look at this is available. It's out there. Don't give up on your kids. I'm not saying he's the cure-all, but I know. If nothing else, I know it's improving function, and he's helped me understand that. So my understanding of chiropractic is no, it's not just pain management or it's not to crack your back. It's like so you could function at your full potential.
Yeah,
and that's what I wanted to give my kids, and that was hard.
I was gonna ask you about
my
that.
My brother,
like, what would you say to a parent who's skeptical about bringing their young
it
kids
is
to?
Yeah, that's really hard. So even though my brother was, I don't know if he was an intern or a chiropractor at the time. I think he was a young chiropractor at the time, but I just had my daughter, and he was saying, probably be a good idea. He didn't want to say definitely do it because it's my kid, and but I was hesitant to, but she needed to because she was having trouble, couldn't go to the bathroom. It had been like 8 days or whatever, and then but he saw her, and it was just a gentle thing that he's barely touching her back, and everything's just it was nothing. But like by the time we got home, she had already pooped and was all better, and the same thing happened with Jake. But birth can be super traumatic, as he explained, and why not make sure? And with all the bumps and bruises and everything that Jake has done, all the crazy stuff. You should have seen the cartwheels. He was doing like full cartwheels yesterday, but then landing on his shoulder. I'm like, oh, dude. I was like, you just broke that like 2 months ago. I was like, how about we don't do those right now? Man. I mean, it was, So, and anything. What I like Steve's understanding too. I mean, let's say we're a little bit off. Let's say, okay, he landed kind of bad, but I never get him checked, and maybe it doesn't adjust itself, and now that everything starts growing a little bit differently. Now instead of being at 100%, you're at 99% or 98%, and then you just start going that route. So I was like, no, I try to.
Yeah,
I think it's something. As long as you're going to like we always say about MMA, martial arts being great. If you have good instructor, like if it's all in the instructor, it's also all in the chiropractor. I've had some experiences that weren't very good, and it could have been just because I was a new patient and I'm not used to them, and maybe I was more tense, or maybe I just didn't like how forceful they were, or whatever else. But it's all about just get a good pick the right one, get a recommendation. I think my brother lists some websites that are great for finding people.
And some chiropractors specialize in certain areas, right?
I think my brother's passion now is, he's making such a difference with kids. And that's awesome, because what that's going to do for their entire life. I mean, kids that are having 60 seizures a day or something, and just cutting out lots of those seizures, helping with autism. It's cool, and just changing that understanding is like, no, it's all these things are.
I think it's huge. I have an uncle who's had seizures his whole life, and I remember being really young, and seeing him fall into a seizure. It was the scariest thing ever. I think I ran out of the house. I was scared. He started shaking. But to this day, I don't believe he's ever seen a chiropractor. I'm not sure what he does. I'm sure he takes pills. I know that. But just knowing that he's gone through that his whole life, and it could have been changed.
It might just be his atlas is off or something like
something. Who knows that the doctors aren't diagnosing or who knows? I'm not saying that's the same case, but relating that to my end, I see my uncle go through that, and I see these kids that are seizure free now. So I think there's something there. At least check it out, right?
Yeah. I'm not a doctor. I'm not.
Even though I graduated medical school. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying this has been my experience. I've been very fortunate. No, Dr. Holland's been awesome. He's adjusted my whole family, parents, all my siblings.
Adjusted from
you got adjusted. So. So that's been really cool. What you were telling my brother, like when he was doing your examination, he was asking about like, what's your overall health, you think?
The questions he was asking me were just pretty basic, like what were my injuries, how are they sustained, and how long. And given my my military history, I just told him, it was just the several convoys that I did go on, I was a turret gunner, so constant shaking of the truck and holding onto a gun and just being rattled up there. So I think that really did a number on me. And then just the constant training over and over and over and over. Then the pills came, and then the cortisone shots came, and then chiropractic came. So all that was still going on as I was active duty, having to train. And I think the wear and tear just put it in.
And even just how much weight are you carrying on you?
It always depends on what kind of like where you're at. If you're training in country, like out overseas, or if you're here in America. But the typical soldier could carry anywhere from 80 to about 110. I mean, it depends on what. I was a radio operator, so we needed batteries, we need the radio, we needed backup headsets and mics and stuff. So plus our gun and our ammo and our water. So it starts to pack on. So yeah, having two bum discs and having to do all that obviously just blew me out. So that led to me, it just increased all like the PTSD symptoms, my anger, just because my body was out of whack, right? Out of whack. But what Steve actually got me to realize was I should know the name of the machine, but he did his thing. There's a little machine he used. I'm sure it's basic in a lot of chiropractic offices, but he showed me that my fight or flight stage is very active still, pretty much constant, is what he said. And I thought that through yoga and jiu-jitsu I kind of had it under wraps, but it made me really, really sit back and think, like, actually there's more going on there. He showed me a graph of where certain muscles are firing, or he's like, so yeah, you're obviously stressed out every day. So and it was just big for me, going back to anybody with slight PTSD symptoms to very severe. You might be thinking you're better than you are. So something simple like him showing me these charts or showing me on the computer screen where my muscles are firing and what I'm thinking about was big for me.
So your heightened awareness, your anxiety, like that's your normal now, and right, and you bring it down with this stuff.
I think that's what it was. Thanks for like clarifying that. Him hitting me with that's normal to me now.
Yeah.
I thought it was me getting over issues, but it's just more so of me dealing with issues and just accepting that it's my normal now. So it was kind of a shift in my own thought process of how I'm handling my issues.
Yeah.
So, which was good though. It made me sit back and ask questions and think. And I think we've had some conversations about it on our own.
But what I do recommend is helping to balance his nervous system. So here we're looking at the information taken from the heart rate variability scan here. This is looking at, the middle is the balance between the fight or flight, sympathetic part of your autonomic nervous system, and the right side is the parasympathetic side. Okay. The green zone here is where they found is that where we want to be to have the optimal ability to adapt or handle stress. Okay, so when you're here, your body can adapt to whatever needs it has internally or externally. If there's a truck coming at you, then you can respond appropriately. The further you are away from it on either side, the more dysfunction that is occurring in your nervous system. Your overall activity of your autonomic nervous system is high, but you're way over here in a major sympathetic response. So your body is in a state of fight or flight, even after doing yoga. Even after
so much goddamn yoga.
Yeah. So you know what the yoga has been there is how many blessings are in the yoga, right?
Yeah.
Now and how many people you're serving and everything. However, it's been used as a tool to manage the stress.
For sure.
So what if we were to you don't need that. Well, not that you should stop doing yoga, but if you don't need it as a tool to remove the stress because the stress has already been corrected and your body's been brought back into balance. So a couple of things. Normally I don't normally see people over in this position. I usually see people over here. So this tells me that you're actually that overall, because you take care of yourself, because you do yoga, because you do these things, overall activity of your nervous system is higher. You're doing better that way. However, you are way over here too, which tells me just how stressed out you are, most likely due to your experience in the military, likely.
That's crazy seeing it. Wow.
So to me, it's a good thing because it tells me that there's something I can do. If you were right here in the middle, well, sometimes people are here in the middle and they're doing great here. And if their other scans aren't looking good and they are subluxated, that tells me that they're going to have a really fast healing response. The fact that you're so high tells me that you should have a very fast healing response as well.
Nice.
That your body should adapt well once that's corrected. And that takes time and it takes repetition because your body has developed patterns of where it's been neurologically and also in the tissues themselves. You have tight muscles, tight ligaments, things like that, depending on the patterns. So the next scan we're looking at is the thermal scan, and we're looking at the difference in temperature from side to side here. White normally indicates a known normal range, so white bars are in this like 0.5 degrees warmer, 0.2 degrees, 0.7, 0.5, so that's within a normal range of difference. Green means a mild increase. This one's almost blue here. Blue means moderate. Then red is severe, more intense difference. So it's 1.3 degrees warmer on the left, 1.3 degrees, 1.4 degrees, 1.6 degrees warmer on the right there. So this is looking at, again, autonomic system function because the skin temperature is controlled by the blood vessels, which are controlled automatically through the nervous system that controls the blood to the tissues. So chiropractors use these type of scans to tell us, one, the degree of dysfunction and location. I use it more as a general, like how long the tension's been there, to what degree. Also the one-sided nature of it tells me that the likely source, and you can also see from the red, mostly in your neck, that's the likely source of the problem at the upper neck, and that's causing this kind of one-sided scan.
Wow.
Ideally, we want to see it, white, even maybe some green, kind of going back and forth down. You do see an increase down at L5S1. This is where you have the disc issues. But in my experience, that's usually a degenerative response to what's happening up top.
Okay.
This is just another way to look at that same scan. This is
I see it.
your back
that's
here.
cool.
That's your first reading. And then the second reading is way over to the left. So that degree of imbalance tells me there's a big disconnect in how your body's functioning there. And then you can see everything is primarily on the right side.
Wow.
Now, could you be determining some of this without this machine, like just by feeling him or looking at him and testing different things? Can you?
Yeah, I could practice without it, but my question would be why?
Yeah, if you could show the difference and prove it and have it here for the patient to see too.
Yeah.
It's great for you to see, and it is great for me to see too, because when I practiced without it, I was guessing to a large degree. the one thing I noticed or realized that I was doing, and I know based upon just clinical experience now, is that I was recommending people decrease their care frequency too soon, actually, because well, let me ask you this. If you have, when do symptoms usually pop up? Do they pop up like right when something happens, or do they typically pop up after years? Or yeah, so symptoms are the tip of the iceberg. All the dysfunction's been building over time to then we start to feel it, then it starts to affect our function. So the body heals in the opposite way. The symptoms go away first, but the dysfunction, the pattern, the dysfunctional nervous system is still an issue. So if we discontinue too early, what do you think happens? The body goes back to what it knows. Just like with any addiction, things like that, and when we're under stress, the body goes back to what it knows, what's easy. And so the good thing and the great thing why chiropractic is so successful is that the body ultimately wants what?
Balance, right?
It wants balance. It wants balance and to thrive too. Not just survive, but it wants to achieve optimal health and performance. That's ultimately what our bodies want and are striving towards. So when we begin to correct that, the body naturally wants to accept that. However, due to time and degree of injury, trauma to the tissues, the body does want to go back to those old patterns. So it's through time and repetition and gaining momentum that we're able to help the body regain that balance and regain the balance in the nervous system that it's looking for.
Wow, okay.
But based upon all the years of experience, based upon your scans, it shows us that one, you're experiencing a state of hypersympathetic activity, hyper fight or flight activity, likely chronic. It's been there a long time, and pretty big imbalances in your nervous system function. So, and based upon experience, it's likely originated from your upper neck there.
All right. Wow, that's awesome. It's a lot of detail. It's great.
So that's why it's so important to do these scans. It's one you can see, I can see. We're not guessing about it, and then we can follow up with progress exams to make sure that it's being corrected.
Yeah, the first one was a shocker. I mean, I knew I was like hyper vigilant, but damn, that seems like a lot.
It is a lot, and I was a bit surprised. And I bet if we did these types of scans on, and I have to look at the research. There's probably already been research done on this, but I would bet that many of your people that you were in the military with are majorly on this side.
Wow.
And a low heart rate variability has been associated with things like epilepsy, things like autoimmune diseases, all sorts of conditions. And it makes sense. If the nervous system can't adapt to stress and can't get into repair phase, then the body's going to break down.
Yeah.
And it's going to shut down.
Wow.
And the thing that I haven't mentioned so far is that we know based upon studies in chiropractic and that's why we do it here, is that chiropractic helps restore the balance. Adjustments of the upper neck have been shown to have a parasympathetic effect. They impact the parasympathetic system, increase that function. However, if you were over here, my approach would be no different. My approach would be to find the subluxations, to correct that imbalance when you come into the office, allow your body to do what it knows how to do, and not try to use my educated mind to say, okay, now this is what I'm going to push here today because you're in this state or this. It's all about what your body shows me.
That's
visit
awesome.
To visit.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was gonna mention like another thing Steve helped me learn about my body was like my calf situation, which Mark put out a disclaimer. You guys come after my right calf.
Is it your right calf? Like, yeah, one of them is. What'd you learn?
One of them is smaller? He showed me that one of them is smaller than the other based off of where I'm compensating. Like as far as it goes all the way down the line. It starts up in my neck and it's just all the way down the line. So now one of my calves is bigger than the other because it's more. It has to work harder, obviously. So and I thought I was in great. I thought everything was balanced through yoga. And he's like, yeah, you're not reaching your full potential on this side because of this. So that was interesting to see, and
Yeah.
it's visible now that I look at it. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah,
I can see it.
It's more susceptible.
Yeah,
Yeah, straight ankle locks. Yeah, so that's cool. That's cool to in understanding why too. You know how it's all connected and how your low back, even though it's a low back problem for you, how
it
he's
could
saying,
start in the neck.
it's
yeah.
all starting from up top probably. You know, and it's just
It
how
makes
that
sense.
affects everything.
Makes
How,
perfect sense.
I think you said I think your shoulder felt so much better. And when he didn't even touch your shoulder after the
right
series,
after
right?
he did my neck.
Yeah.
The whole drive to San Diego, and you know, for us, it's like an hour and a half. Well,
Yeah.
hour and a half, 2 hour drive. The whole drive, I was just
Oh, that's
feeling
right.
pretty weird the night before, and he fixed that right away without even touching the shoulder.
Yeah.
Right for the neck. It was pretty awesome. So that shows right there that we're like a tall. What was that game? Jenga.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like. That's
Yeah.
us right there. That's our spinal column.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I like seeing all the tests that he does. Like, you know, so it's measurable, so you can prove, so you can see. It's like,
see
it's
it.
like, wow, I had this kind of function, and now I have this function. It's like, and so you see the proof, if you need it. One of the main reasons I wanted you to see Steve is what he did for my friend Rich. Oh, it's incredible. Rich had such bad pain in his. He couldn't even use his hands. He couldn't pick up his own kids, and he was trying to take care of them, and he couldn't pick them up. Couldn't change their diapers, whatever.
Wow.
Couldn't interact with them, and it was just so bad. He went to so many doctors. They ran so many tests. Nothing was giving him relief. He started seeing Steve, and it would always help a little bit. The pain would go away for a while. It was manageable. I mean, because he was getting seriously depressed. He couldn't work.
Yeah.
It was ruining his life. And then so he was seeing Steve, and he would have good results, but then he wouldn't be able to go back for a while until it was really bad again. Until one time, like one adjustment, he said he knew like it was a major shift up in his atlas, and from that point, like it's been gone, and now it comes back like a little bit, but man, he's so grateful. He just
It just
it's
makes
cool.
sense.
Yeah.
When you start up here, I mean, all the signals fly down. It's just.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor, but it just makes sense. You know?
Yeah, no, our body wants to function at 100%. And I think that was the other cool thing Steve talked about too, is how yoga and this go along so great together, and everything, dude. I love acupuncture. I like massage. I like anything that's
I think they're
helping the body. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to encompass all of them if you want
Yeah.
to be 100%. You know, for all those athletes out there that are really pushing hard.
Yeah.
It's not just about ice baths. You know, you got to go get adjusted. You got to get deep tissue massaged. You know, you got to get worked on.
The reason I brought up Rich is I was talking about him with Steve, and he said, "Yeah, you know, but you got to keep going. You know, he can only do so much. Steve can only do so much for somebody. He could, you know." Hopefully correct it, but then it's up to the individual, because how our body is stuck on that, like it remembers that it's going to go back to that eventually,
And then you
until we
drive
reset
every
it.
day,
Yeah,
you go to work
yeah.
every
So until we
day.
reset it, so that's why I wanted to take you down to Dr. Holland. I was like, okay, that'd be perfect. You need someone that can do it regularly to help you, because I think it will make. I think once you're, let's say, 100% aligned, I think you're going to be much healthier. I think you probably have a lot less symptoms. I think it's going to help with, like, it's not going to make you worse. So I know that 100% is not going to.
Totally agree. But yeah, that's one of the things Dr. Holland. I don't mean to switch up.
Oh no, that's
But he helped me realize my clavicle was like out of place. He said I had an injury, and I can't remember what.
And you had no idea. You had no idea
I
that
had
it was
no
off.
idea, and I knew he wasn't just talking, because we'll show the clip, but he actually pinpointed where there was an inch of separation of difference. He's like, no, that's an injury.
Yeah.
You did something, and I'm sure it came from rolling.
Yeah.
It must have been rolling around, having heavy guys on top of me. But then he adjusted me and put his fingers back on my clavicle points, and they were lined up again. And once again, that was my normal. I had no idea that I wasn't getting full range of motion.
Yeah. And how he explained like what that was going to do for you. Like, that was going to increase your strength, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I'm cool now.
Yeah. Mark's like, I've been doing so good. No, yeah.
Just because you're all jacked up, that sucks. So yeah, I told him not to fix you.
But me as a yoga instructor, I still would you have known that?
No.
Me doing handstands,
Yeah.
and, like, so it's amazing.
Yeah.
Even at at the high levels, you can still be at a place, and it's just amazing how someone can show you something about your body that you were probably missing.
Yeah.
You know, I like that. So
Where are we?
In Dr. Holland.
Dr. Holland's. Who gets to go first?
Me.
No, Daddy wants to go first.
I don't go first.
Why do you always get adjusted first?
Because I want to.
Oh, you're no fun. Yesterday, with Steve adjusting him and talking about afterwards, but how important it is. Like, it's not a one-time fix.
Yeah,
You know?
unfortunately, you're right, Mark. Those muscles have memory, so they want to go back to their old evil ways. Especially if you're doing a lot of physical stuff. Here, turn and face me. I want to see how we did here. Oh yeah, turn it. You go next. Just 1 minute, okay, Jake? Face the mirror. I want you to see this. No magic. Just stand comfortably. There's that guy. There's that guy.
Awesome.
And have you noticed a change in my body in the last? I mean, you've been adjusting me like 28 years. Have you noticed a change in my body in the last like 6 months as far as being able to manipulate me a little bit easier? And
I have, particularly in those SI joints. What I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because those were a bear. That's like trying to open a door wrong way. You just couldn't get them to move.
yeah,
And now they're just freely movable. So whatever's going on is really good.
yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about on the podcast, like chiropractic, but also yoga and how this all works together.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good and a positive that I'll share with you guys is that my patients that do yoga, I don't need to see them as often or as frequently, and that's good to me. I'm happy with that. Okay, but that creates elasticity in the muscle tissues and ligaments. The joints have more fluid in them, and the tissues are just healthier, and so they can maintain adjustments longer and be healthier. So it's a
That's
good thing.
awesome. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
back to that.
But yeah, so it was great being able to take you there. You guys just had he asked you some questions, figured you out real quick, took a look at you,
Feeling
showed
good.
you
Yep.
the difference. And you know, was it painful with either of them? Was it was it uncomfortable?
No, because I trusted him. I just kind of relaxed, and I think that's a big thing with like when you go see a chiropractor is just accept what's about to happen, relax, don't be so stiff maybe. So I
Yeah.
just kind of relaxed and let it go, and I had it felt great, it felt good. All of the adjustments felt good, not too forceful. At least for
Yeah.
me, I thought it was great. But find your chiropractor that's going to suit your needs.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and again, you know, if you do have kids, I would say, like, I highly recommend it. I wouldn't recommend something that I thought was dangerous or anything like that. It's like that's the old idea that we had, that it was, I don't know, but it can definitely help. It's helped me a ton. It's helped my family so much. So yeah, I'm grateful to both of those guys and for the profession.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Chiropractic. Since this whole episode has been kind of family friendly, I guess, we're not gonna go with any horror. I was like, we'll leave off. Usually it's it's one at the end of every episode. I'll play a short story. It's usually horror. It's usually kind of dark. But today we're gonna go with my daughter's book, Puzzle at the Preschool. What's cool about this is my friend Dawna Gonzales, who trains at headquarters with her husband Jonathan, both awesome people. She narrated this. She narrated another short story of mine, Changed Man, did a really good job on that. People liked her a lot, so I asked her if she could do Little Animals, and I thought she did an awesome job. So here is Triple S Agency. Hope you guys enjoy it.